So back in the 8th century AD, there was a Frankish, not French, Frankish family called the Carolingians, and before them there were the Merovingians, and before them there were the Romans, and before them there were the Gauls, and I don't know, baguette-wielding Neanderthals? Whatever, we have to start somewhere, and the Carolingians had a pretty cool leader named Charlemagne. Charlemagne built this great empire that stretched across most of Western Europe. He even got a fancy title from the Pope, something about being holy and Roman, which he clearly wasn't, but whatever. After Charlemagne died and some Carolingian infighting, his empire was split up between different members of the family, but we don't really care about most of them because their parts of the empire went on to become unimportant countries, like Italy and Germany. Completely irrelevant. Anyway, the western part of the empire became the creatively named Kingdom of West Francia. Get it? Francia, like France-ia? France 1.0. So, for a couple hundred years, things stayed basically the same until a guy called Hugh Capay came along and became King of France in 987. Now, he's pretty important because for the next, really long time, descendants of Hugh Capay, the Capetians, would rule France. Mostly. They weren't really challenged until 1328, when Hugh's great times 9 grandson, Charles IV, died. Now, side note, lots of conflicts throughout European history have been the result of someone important dying without a son, and then a whole bunch of people fighting over which distant relative gets their stuff. That is exactly what happened here. When Charles IV died, France put another Capetian, Philip VI, on the throne. He started a Capetian subfamily, the House de Valois, but over in England, King Edward III was like, hold on, my mum was a French princess and I own a whole bunch of land in France. I should get to be their king. This started a war which lasted 116 years but was called the 100 Years' War. It's rather complicated, but long story short, England was winning for a while, even taking Paris, then the French rallied, Joan of Arc showed up, and eventually England was pushed pretty much all the way out of France. So, the Capetian de Valois family kept control and they ruled until 1589, when they died out, and were replaced by more Capetians, the Bourbon dynasty. The Bourbons had some pretty cool kings, chief among them Louis XIV, the Sun King. He, incidentally, was both the longest reigning French king and the longest reigning monarch in all of European history. He was also the poster child for absolute monarchy, which I suppose is a bit less great. Another Bourbon king, Louis XVI, was a bit less successful. He was terrible at his job, and eventually his Austrian wife said, "Let's eat cake." The people said, "No, we want bread," and both Louis and Queen Marie Antoinette were executed. A French Republic was declared, which ended up at war with pretty much everyone else important in Europe. After several different attempts at stabilizing the country, including one terrifying guy sending 20,000 Frenchmen to the guillotine before ending up there himself, a young general named Napoleon Bonaparte seized control and declared himself first consul of the French Republic. And then, he abolished that republic and established the First French Empire. Napoleon's empire was, gotta admit, pretty impressive, even larger than Charlemagne's, but while he was undoubtedly skilled, he did get a bit overconfident and tried to take over, literally everything, only to be beaten, exiled, beaten again, and then just barely live to see the Bourbons restored, this time as a constitutional monarchy. The French people grew tired even of that though, so in 1848 they tossed out the last king of France, Louis Philippe the Citizen King, and created a new republic, the Second French Republic. It lasted only about 4 years until Napoleon's nephew Napoleon III got himself elected President of France, and then declared the Second French Empire. Napoleon III was taken prisoner by Prussia in 1870, and the French people took the opportunity to again declare a new republic, the Third French Republic, which lasted all the way until a certain jerk with a silly moustache invaded France in 1940 and set up a puppet dictatorship in the south, Vichy France. After the war, General Charles de Gaulle set up the Fourth French Republic, but it was laughably unstable and couldn't make up its mind on how to handle simple issues like colonialism and an enormous part of their country wanting to break free. So, in 1958, Charles de Gaulle begrudgingly returned from retirement and helped to set up a Fifth French Republic. No shortage of those. This time, the constitution called for a strong executive in the form of the French presidency in order to maintain stability. And so far, that seems to have worked. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more just like it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. You can also watch more of our content through one of the thumbnails to the left. And as always, I've been James and thank you for watching Look Back History.